VantagePoint Smart Trainer, which is a method for guided learning for the automatic classification of records. In VantagePoint, autoclassification proceeds in 3 steps. The first is that the user needs to identify the categories that they want to define for their data set. As we can see from this little example, we can, as the analyst, easily see that there are dark blue, light blue, and red records that we want to categorize, so we create those 3 groups. Then we launch the Smart Trainer, which guides us through the machine learning process and trains the classifier 1 record at a time. So the Smart Trainer will display this record. I, as the analyst, can see that it's dark blue, so I assign it to that category. We then move on to the next record, which is light blue, and I assign that. And we proceed until we feel comfortable with the classifier's confidence in its training. Once we do feel comfortable and we're ready to auto-classify, we hit go and the auto-classifier will sort the remaining records for us. So we have all of these unclassified records and we have our 3 groups. So we instruct the auto-classifier to go and it will simply sort those records for us. So now that we've seen kind of how this works in theory, let's go ahead and see how this works in VantagePoint. So I have a little toy problem here, which is just, we are going to sort some records into paragraphs as written by Jane Austen or William Shakespeare. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you identify your training field. If you have any fields named title or abstract, VantagePoint will identify them and set the meta text for you. Since this data set does not, I need to let it know what the text field is. And in this case, it is paragraph. So I'm going to right click in meta tags, set meta tags, and add the training field. All right, once that's done, we can go ahead and set up our groups by going to Analyze, Record Classifications. So I want to create a classification for identifying the author. So I will name this author, and I will add a category for Jane Austen and one for William Shakespeare. Now, these are obviously paragraphs that have been written by either Jane Austen or William Shakespeare, but there are some instances in which your categories might overlap. If that is the case, go ahead and check this Allow Multiple Selection checkbox. All right, so once I've got my groups, I can start the Smart Trainer, which will pull up and display a record that I can read through and decide where it belongs. So this to me looks like a Jane Austen paragraph. So I'm going to assign it to Austen and then click this little View Next Record button to move on in the process. Again, I think this is Austen. And this is definitely Shakespeare. So as you can see, as I categorize, this little confidence indicator is going to grow. So I will keep assigning a few more records and watch as that confidence increases. Okay, so now that we've classified a few records, obviously we don't have time to get this confidence up to a really high level right now. I'm going to go ahead and show you, if you were to keep classifying and reach this higher level, how you would go about classifying the remaining records. So what you do is just double click in this little confidence indicator over here. If you have multiple classifications, they will show up here and you can just click and remove the checkboxes for which ones you want to run and which ones you don't. And then one more thing that needs to be set is this accuracy target. Right now I have it set at a 3 out of 4. 4 out of 4 means I will privilege precision over recall. So there might be some records that don't get classified, but there will be fewer misclassifications. On the other end of the spectrum would be privileging recall, in which I will classify as many records as I can, but some of them may be misclassified. For the purposes of demonstration, I'm just going to set it here. So once you've decided where you want that to be, you can click Start Classifying. And when it's all done, it will tell you. So now, just out of curiosity, we can look and see how well our classifier did with all, 10 of those records classified. And it is not perfect, but it's actually really not bad. We're doing about 50% on Shakespeare, but really good on Austen. The last thing I want to show you is that you can actually take the built knowledge base that you've created by training and export it to use on different data sets. So to do that, you can go to record classifications, auto classifier settings, and then right here is the export knowledge base button. Okay, and again, if you have multiple classifications, you'll just choose the one you want and save it. Okay, so what does that look like if we apply it to a new data set? Here I have, again, author and paragraph. This is just a subset of the original data set that wasn't in those classifications. And again, I want to make sure that I set my meta tags. Okay. All right, so now to import, you can go to Manage Record Classification, Auto Classifier Setting, and then Import Knowledge Base. Here I have one that I actually pre-trained before this just for demonstration purposes. And if you click in the classification name in the auto classifier settings, you can actually see a breakdown of how confident it is by these different groups. So as we can see, it's got 84% confidence overall, slightly higher for Austen than Shakespeare, but pretty much doing okay for, I believe I only classified like 50 records for this. All right, so once we've got that imported, we can go ahead and start auto classifying. And again, set your accuracy target where you feel comfortable. All right, so now once that's all done, again, just out of curiosity, let's see how it did once I've classified 50 records in the training set. Much better. We can see that nothing was unclassified and there's only a couple of really confusing paragraphs here. And I've actually done the math on this already, and this is an average F1 of 93.2%, which is not bad on only 50 records. And real quick, I'm just going to go back and zoom in on this because I know that not everybody is able to see it. And that is it for the VantagePoint auto classifier and the Smart Trainer, which are now available. Thank you.